Dreaming has always been integral to who I am, whether it's creating storylines to music, losing myself in a piece of art for hours, or crafting secret narratives for static images as I project myself into them. Life itself operates the same way. It's a funny concept. You could search for its meaning, travel the world to explore its significance, and still encounter different answers, some pessimistic, others optimistic. But the general consensus remains. Life is what you make it, and as long as you try to live it the best you can with what you have, that's all that truly matters. After all, you're stuck with your base self, your upbringing, what you grew up with, and you only build from there with the opportunities and luck presented along the way. How many times has one fantasized about changing their life drastically or starting over with the wisdom they have now? At least once. This fantasy crosses everyone's mind under different triggers, at different points. A child feeling jealous over a toy, a teen wishing the ground would swallow them alive after an embarrassing public moment, or an adult getting crushed under the pressure of hardship. But what does it truly mean to start over? Would one's life change much for the better, or would the new challenges erupt? Does destiny exist? Are we in control? These questions have been philosophically analyzed repeatedly, often leading to nihilistic ideals or wishful thinking. However, realistically, how much can you control and how much are you willing to change, knowing the butterfly effect could flip the foundation of a familiar, comfortable life? Humans crave excitement, and knowing the results of every decision makes it easier to take, but it doesn't satisfy human nature. So is it truly second chances we desire in blinded moments, or is it fast forwarding to the next unexpected chapter? Chapter 1. You're the main character of your own life. Brush up. To improve one's existing knowledge or skill in a particular area. That's the Oxford definition. Thus, brush up life would mean improving one's life with previous existing knowledge. It's also the title of Baka Rhythm's 2023 comedy/slice of life drama. I remember stumbling upon it randomly last year, finding the title enticing, diving in blind, only for it to become a constant staple for rainy, mundane days. It's truly comforting. Nothing spectacular, just a drama about a single woman in her early 30s, 33 to be exact, named Asami Kondo. She lives with her parents and younger sister Haruka in their childhood home, located in the small town of Kitakumagaya. She works at City Hall and meets up with her best friends Nachi and Mippon twice a month at a restaurant called Montagna, where they reminisce about the past and catch up. Oh, Asami also happens to restart her life from scratch over and over again after passing away. Despite that supernatural element, the drama remains quite mundane, giving it an authentic human feel. From organically flowing conversations to small bickering between lines, the drama never takes itself too seriously, which is refreshing. Brush Up Life is ultimately about what it means to start over and enjoy life to the bone, with the bitter and sweet. Right off the bat, Asami is the opposite of what it means to be a main character. She's a single woman past her 20s living an ordinary life, working a mundane office job. However, she's a true representation of what many live in real life, especially in this day and age. Asami narrates her life directly to the viewer. The process of her work, the tiny details that bother her, like needing approval from multiple departments just to buy a pen, or not being allowed to greet clients at the customer service desk. We get to know her deeper as she introduces the people in her life, and we start seeing them through her eyes. She talks about her hobbies, her love for dramas, how she used to collect and exchange stickers as a kid, portraying her as a lover of simpler things and small joyful moments. I felt deeply connected to Asami. She doesn't just speak to the viewer, she speaks for them. She's a projection of the typical working adult, the one who bears the hells of their job just to escape to their hobbies once the clock reaches 5 p.m., who despite daily struggles still finds a way back to the things that bring the most joy, whether in the form of another living thing or an activity. Brush Up Life, having the comedy tag, sneaks in jokes here and there without straying from its slice-of-life nature. The main joke plays on Asami dying multiple times because of a truck. Truck-kun, as many would call it, famously portrayed in the isekai genre, is the key to getting teleported to a new life, or in Asami's case, restarting her previous one. The one time he isn't responsible, she gets crushed by falling steel bars at a construction site. I don't know if that's better or worse, but valid, I suppose. After her passing, Asami is given a choice: get reincarnated as an animal, a giant anteater, a Hokkaido purple sea urchin, a mackerel, and so on, or restart her life with all her current memories intact. Asami gets conflicted. She doesn't mind getting reincarnated, but she'd rather be reborn as a human being if given the choice. Isn't that what most people would opt for? There's a certain level of comfort in restarting life in the vessel you previously owned. The human body is nowhere superior. I'd like to be reborn as some kind of bird, purely to experience what it feels like to fly with one's own body. Seeing a bird from a human's point of view, its life looks easy, but I know it wouldn't be if I were the one living it. Yet a bird would still wish to get reincarnated as a bird for the comfort of familiarity, the same as Asami. Turns out, those are her only two choices, and if she wishes to get reincarnated as her desired form, a Homo sapien, she must accumulate a certain amount of good deeds, a lot of them. Left with no other choice, she chooses to relive her life until she's collected enough points, doing as many good deeds as she can along the way, picking up trash on her way home, being an easy child to her parents, and so on. Asami also uses this opportunity to explore different career paths she didn't take before, which is something I see myself doing if I were in her position. Just as humans seek comfort, we still enjoy the thrill of the unknown and the has-been. Sure, Asami strategically picks careers that would plausibly help her accumulate the most good deed points, but she also takes it as an opportunity to explore untaken paths. This gets you thinking about the question of destiny. Despite Asami opting for different careers each route, pharmacist, TV producer, research physician, pilot, her overall life stays generally the same. From her close circle to her habits, not much changes. In One Life as a TV producer, Asami presents a script about a woman restarting her life, presenting it as fiction even though it's heavily inspired by her own experiences. In the brainstorming meeting, her co-workers pick the script apart, finding it dull and suggesting that if the main character is in her second round and with all her memories, she should be winning a Nobel Prize by now. The writer pokes fun not only at what the drama could have been, but at how we, as a collective, romanticize second chances. We think that if given a second try, we'd excel in a superhuman way, but could we really? Bad habits die hard. Just look at how heavily we procrastinate. Would we really be able to make drastic, huge changes in our second round? Would circumstances be our ally or foe? Realistically, we can only change so much. Would we be the hero or anti-hero? At the end of the day, we're only in control of our own lives. We're the main character of it, and mere side characters in everyone else's. But a new beginning will always be a learning opportunity where new perspectives are explored. Chapter 2: A Different Perspective. A common philosophical question about the natural primitive state of a humankind asks whether it was built on kindness or evil. One thing's certain: humans are mostly self-centered. When I say self-centered, most would interpret it as narcissism, greed, and so on, which somehow justifies dismissing the self-centered state of the human brain. But we perceive things in a way that only concerns us, and it usually translates to negative emotions. How self-conscious you'd feel after a bad haircut, thinking everyone on the train is judging you. How quickly we are to put someone into a negative box after being treated unfairly without considering external factors. Self-centering and quick judgment are pure human traits, instincts to protect us from getting hurt, giving excuses that argue for our negative feelings and pin them on the other. That's why when one grows and rethinks past situations, a broader picture comes to light and kinder arguments seek in to cover regret. So it comes as no surprise that Asami's main goal as she restarts is mostly self-centered. She is the main character, and going with our previous takes, most of us would have the same attitude in her place. Imagine living a life where only you know to an extent the future. You'd make bank on the internet or get abducted by your local federal offices, most likely. Nevertheless, as Asami grows and keeps repeating her life, she gets bored of the cycle and finally starts seeing events from a different lens, mainly through direct consequences of small changes she makes. The first change happens due to a small acknowledgement of a situation through adult Asami's eyes. In kindergarten, she notices that her classmate Rena's dad is getting awfully close to their teacher Yoko-sensei in a suspicious and flirty way. Asami recalls losing contact with Rena after she moved away due to her parents' divorce. Yup. Her father had an affair with the teacher. Thus, Asami makes it her mission to stop the affair from happening, first by texting Rena's dad from a payphone with anonymous threats, then eventually just confronting the teacher directly because she got tired of the repetition, left in awe at how persuasive a child's potential fears could be. As children, we fail to understand certain things. We can only feel and connect things to our current level of emotional and neurological growth. That's why when we think back on certain events after a few years, we tend to understand them on a wider level and give others the benefit of the doubt. At times, we even realize we're at fault. It's important to note that everything is meant with a good heart. When hardships and stressful situations cause intense emotions, our brain has no other choice but to protect us from further hurt. That protection could manifest as a crash out or passive-aggressive attitude. We get so enveloped in our current state we forget to notice what goes on around us. Reminiscing could lead to regret. And I believe the biggest regret one could have is the loss of opportunity to say one final goodbye to a loved one. After she restarts, Asami makes sure to visit her grandparents as much as possible because she knows her grandfather will die soon. Death is a comforting and scary idea. We're all gonna die. Is a sentence that brings both peacefulness and agony. One of the most heartbreaking things in someone's life is having to forever say goodbye to a loved one, eventually forgetting their voices and relying only on past images to remember their features. But at the same time, it's that very fact that makes life worth living, that makes loving so special. The fact that one day an unexpected halt will come and you don't know when, so you rely on spreading love while you still can. Luckily, as a pharmacist, Asami notices two of her grandfather's medications overlapping, causing his health to deteriorate. So she changes them and succeeds in making him live longer. Makes you think if you could actually stop the one unbreakable promise we were given in this life from the day we let out our first scream. But if restarting meant I could elongate the lifespan of a loved one somehow, I'd take the chances. How about people you dislike? When Asami hangs out with her best friends for dinner as usual, they bring up their strict middle school teacher everyone disliked, Mita Tetsuo, aka Mita Kong. Asami, like any of us with that certain teacher, you know which one, we all have one, holds a grudge because he confiscated her Game Boy when he found it under her desk and never gave it back, despite her not playing with it in class. It turns out Mita Kong lost his job after news broke about him inappropriately touching a woman on a train. Asami calls it karma and moves on. However, in her second round, as she hops on the train to go home for her father's birthday, the universe decides to put her in the front row of the Mita Kong train experience. She sees him on that very train, and Asami, still having that bitter teenager inside her, decides to film him to send to Nachi and Mippon, which is pretty valid. if you ask me. Suddenly, as she films, a woman holds Mita's hand up and accuses him of touching her. The train stops. Police get involved. Problem is, Asami knows he didn't do it. She has proof, she filmed it. Asami gets put in a conflicted situation. She could tell the truth, testify, save him from losing his job, but teenage Asami? She's not backing down. She's thriving on watching this go down. In life, we'll be put in this situation multiple times, where we can choose to turn a blind eye and watch someone you dislike get wrongly accused, or swallow your grudges and do the right thing, putting aside your differences and protecting them. It's easy to get temporary satisfaction from turning a blind eye, but a small act of kindness could domino its way to a bigger, better change. So she decides to swallow her bitterness and shows the police the evidence. Mita feels thankful and mentions he got married 2 years ago and his wife and him are expecting their first child. So he would have been heartbroken if he were taken away. Mita later visits Asami's home to give her a gift and return her Game Boy he forgot to give back. A genuinely heartwarming consequence. Oh, and the real culprit for the train incident? Asami's ex-boss at City Hall, Chief Taniguchi, who had always been kind to her. Asami would have never guessed he was a part-time the people we meet, even if they're kind to us, we never know their true nature or intentions. It's better to have someone hating you to your face than someone smiling at you while stabbing knives into your back. Reality is more than just our emotions. Mita, despite Asami disliking him, is genuinely a good person. Misunderstood, probably doesn't know how to communicate with teens, I mean, who does? But his intentions are well. Taniguchi is professional, but once that facade drops, his true nature comes to light and it's a lot uglier. Overall, Asami sets these side tasks as main missions to complete every time she's reborn. But it's bigger than that. We get to experience firsthand the stories Asami only heard about and see them from different perspectives. Not everything we perceive as bad truly is, and neither is the good. Chapter 3: The Butterfly Effect of Existence. In her first round after dinner with the girls, they went to karaoke at round 1, their favorite hangout spot. There they meet one of their childhood friends, Fuku-chan, who works there. He allegedly had a shotgun wedding with a coworker and has a son now. Fuku-chan always aspired to become a successful singer. He got hyped up by all their childhood friends at karaoke after their coming-of-age ceremony. Everyone encouraged him and promised to cheer him on because his voice was that good. This begs the question, how many dreams does one have to give up on in life? Pursuing a career in the arts has become a privilege these days. Every market is saturated and the world seems like it's about to explode. There's too much everywhere, too much audio and visual pollution getting forced on us every which way we turn. A lot of people dream of hitting it big and some try only to be forgotten. It's easy to get swayed in the heat of the moment and persuaded by people who would eventually forget you. Not intentionally, just because they're caught up with their own lives. Fuku-chan's singing is alright, but not Tokyo Dome level as his friends hype him up to be. Asami realizes this after listening to him objectively in her second round. She starts debating whether to tell him or not. Telling him would mean he'd probably give up on music and follow another path, meaning he won't meet his future wife and kid he loves so much. An image of how happy Fuku-chan was showing Asami a picture of his family flashes in her mind, so she stands up and claps along, cheering him on. Before his second marriage, Fuku-chan was married to Shi-chan, another one of Asami's childhood friends, but they end up divorcing after Shi-chan gets tired of supporting his music career. She wants to settle down and have kids. He wants to succeed first. Having a loving partner you think is the one until you live with them under the same roof is a common occurrence. Love is, as they say, blinding in the moment. However, sometimes reality causes the haze to fade. Fuku-chan and Chi-chan separate on good terms, and each start over with someone new. They still love and respect each other, but the fact that they both desire different things in life now that they're older is perfectly reasonable. Growing apart is part of life, even when it seems hard. If two people who are legally represented as one start to look in different directions, the greatest act of love in that moment is the ability to respect your partner enough to let them go and start fresh. Apart from this one mention, romantic love isn't exactly the center of brush-up life. But if you ask me, it is a romantic drama in every shape and form, just a different type of romance. Love surrounds Asami from every direction, and you can feel that watching this drama. To be loved is not only centered in romantic love. That kind can break, just like what happened to Fuku-chan and Chi-chan. But the other kind, platonic, familial, love of the self, that's what stays with you as you grow. To be loved is to be seen and remembered. Despite Asami not seeing her friends or family often, and lacking a romantic partner, the love she's surrounded with carries along with her, with every action, with every confident step. After all, would Asami really want to restart over if she lacked it? Romantic love is attracted, it's an addition, but never the sole reason of existence. Okay, stop, I hear you. Since you want Asami to have a relationship so bad in this, she did briefly date a guy in college called Tanabe Masaru. She ended up breaking up with him after he got addicted to pachinko, though, gambling. And now you may be wondering what happened to him. Well, in her second round, as she peacefully waits at the pharmacy for her grandfather's new medication, she picks up a business magazine and flips through it, like one does, until she sees a name she recognizes all too well listed as the most successful businessman of the year, Tanabe Masaru. So when Asami restarts again, she decides to date him because he's really sweet and kind, and that is definitely the only reason. As a condition, she makes him vow not to gamble. To make sure of that, she turns into a controlling, clingy girlfriend, prompting him to break up with her. A few years later, when she picks up the same magazine, she notices his net worth has dropped by 100 million yen just because he dated her for a few months. This recurring theme, Asami, despite being the main character having an unintentional negative effect on her surroundings, is shown multiple times and played off in comedic ways. For example, when Asami visits the same soba restaurant she frequented during her city hall days, now working as a pharmacist, she sits beside two ladies who were her ex-co-workers. They all used to come here together to de-stress and chat about work. Now that Asami's not in the picture, they chat about their love lives instead. When Asami became a research physician, she made a breakthrough discovery after 5 intense years researching bacteria in human skin tissue and published a paper about it. Now that she isn't in the field, she finds that the paper got published earlier by her senior, Tae-san. Asami starts feeling like she was holding everyone else back. We tend to think, or rather hope, that our presence is positive in people's lives. We try to be kind, considerate, helpful, but sometimes we do end up holding people back or even hurting them unintentionally, even when we mean well. The drama had an opportunity to portray Asami as perfect, but it didn't. Sure, it plays it off for comedic effect, but even then, it just feels real. Asami is a main character, yes, but that doesn't mean she's perfect and she doesn't try to be. When she finds out the butterfly effect of her existence in people's lives, she feels bad, but she doesn't dwell on it and chooses to move on, to focus on other things. It's easy to get lost in the negative. We tend to give it a lot of space in our hearts and memories, and I've always wondered why. Is it because the emotions are so intense, or is it because it's rare? Think about it. How many good things happen to you daily compared to negative ones? Brush Up Life teaches us how to move on. When things aren't in our control, we should let go. Even though our existence could cause certain unintentional negative cracks in the overall image, it's what beautifies it. Kintsugi, the art of gluing things with gold. Our interactions have meaning, and even if we perceive them as negative or embarrassing, they still meant something to the other, and that's all that matters. You can't fight destiny after all, but you can still change fate or at least swerve its direction. Rena bumps into Asami, Nachi, and Mippon in Montagna one night, their usual restaurant. Asami, having stopped Rena's father from cheating, she was able to make her stay long enough for the girls to form a true connection with each other. Rena joins them and starts chatting. She mentions she has a boyfriend and talks about how they met. She also shows them a picture of her man. He's Asami's co-worker at the pharmacy, Miyaoka-san, who also happens to be married. Asami knows Rena doesn't know that fact because he doesn't have a ring on his finger in the photo she took of him. Rena-chan seems to be linked to a fatal affairs, Asami states. She tells Rena, who breaks up with him on the spot. She laments that she's only sad about her wasted time and that Asami shouldn't worry much. In the following rounds, Asami opts for the classic way of threatening Miyaoka into not getting with Rena. Chapter 4. Everyone plays the game differently. What I appreciate most about this series is that it doesn't just focus on Asami's point of view. Even though she is the projection of what many people would opt for if given a second chance, not everyone would treat that second chance similarly. Some would opt to relive their first round, savoring the moments they cherish. Others would spend it sacrificing their lives for someone else's happiness. You see, Asami isn't the only one to restart. Others in her circle, as she comes to find out, have as well. Her junior at City Hall, for example, Kawaguchi-san. She bumps into Asami after she became a research physician and recognized her immediately despite them never crossing paths in this round. She casually explains that she has restarted her life as well and has been for quite some time. She's in her 8th round, to be exact. Asami finds Kawaguchi's cool demeanor about this situation quite odd, so she asks her what she'd be if she hasn't restarted. She said she'll be a blue heron in her next life, which she finds pretty nice, so she just decides to treat her current life as a game, seeing how closely she can replicate it down to her clothes. Asami thinks she must have had a very happy life to want to just replicate it. It's very rare to find someone who'd opt to just relive their life over and over again, the same way they always have. And when you hear that, you can't help but feel a pang of jealousy and wonder how they reached such a level of peacefulness and zen to never want to change a thing. Then there's Uno Mari, the it girl, class president, kind, and the talk of Asami's childhood friends. She's a pilot now, which the friends don't find surprising. She's always been perfect, polite, selfless, and top of her class. Nachi and Mippon joke that she must be in her 2nd round of life. She's not. She's in her 5th. Mari first befriends Asami after noticing her being a little lonely in middle school. You see, after a few rounds of restarting, Asami gets so determined to accumulate good deeds that she misses the chance to grow close to Nachi and Mippon, focusing solely on school and busying herself with studying. So now that they are friends, instead of meeting up with Nachi and Mippon at Montagna a few times a month, Asami meets up with Mary, who straight up asks her one day what round she's in. She explains that she'd noticed Asami's sudden interest in studying and how good she got at it, so she'd baited her with modern slang many times when they were kids just to make sure. Once she finally came clean now that she can talk about this with someone else without sounding crazy. We get to know a little more about Mary and her backstory. She was actually part of the Asami, Nachi, and Mippon friend group in her first life. She used to be a childcare worker and dated Fuku-chan for 6 months before he cheated on her with Shi-chan, which brings us back to the question we discussed about destiny and fate. The reason Mari decided to restart her life was to not be an ant or another insect, but also to save Mippon and Nachi. Mari becoming a pilot isn't a fluke. In her first life, Mippon and Nachi took a plane to Taiwan for a trip. The plane unfortunately crashed, so Mari makes it her life's mission to save her friends and everyone else on that plane. Hence why she decides to become a pilot. Although she hasn't succeeded thus far, she's still determined and confident that she'll be able to this time. To lighten things up, Mari says they should grab dinner with Nachi and Mippon once the flight succeeds. so they can all become best friends again and grow old together. Asami happily agrees and asks when's the flight. Mari says it's next year. Asami says it's still too far away and she can't wait, but she's willing to for Mary's and the girls' sakes. Chapter 5. You matter more than you think. Mari lied. She didn't want to make Asami worry or give her false hope. The flight took off a month later, and the plane ended up disappearing again. Asami read the news, her heart sinking. She tried to make sense of it and dialed Mary's number. No reply. This was the first time we see Asami experience grief. This moment lasts only a few minutes, but those minutes felt raw and authentic. Asami's expressions at the funeral, her breathless laughter at karaoke as she talks about the girls with Fuku-chan and Gon-chan. Death is bigger than us, and when it happens, all we're left with is the memories and the bitter necessity to just move on. A few years later, Asami dies again after having lived the longest compared to all her previous rounds. Her behavior this time is pretty numb. She's not excited. She's not furious. She just gives in to her fate. She's told this is her last round of restarting and that she'll be human in her next life. Asami gets surprised. Fate is a cruel thing. It's like the universe is making a cruel joke. After she lost it all, she can get what she wants or restart and fall back into an unknown fate she can't back out from. She chooses to restart. Her love for her friends and the people around her is stronger than her will to be reborn human. She walks through that door one last time, determined not to accumulate as much good deeds as she can, but to make this life better than the next. After all, she has no other choice. She sets a goal with Mari to become pilots together to save Nachi and Mippon as they fly that plane themselves. And this time, they succeed and manage to befriend the girls again. They get closer, eventually go into the same retirement home and getting reincarnated as pigeons in their hometown. This is the main takeaway from Brush Up Life: to live life to the fullest. It comes off as cheesy and cliche, but it's true. We don't have much control in our lives. We don't know what could possibly happen in the next hour, let alone the next year. So much can change in an instant, and all we can do is appreciate the small moments and live a life worth remembering. Bodies decay and rot. We're pure souls in a temporary vessel meant to break down. But memories are what keep us alive, like water in a dead rose. A loved one taking care of your grave, or telling stories about you to other generations you never met. That is the end goal that would keep us eternal. I started watching Brush Up Life with no real expectations. I just needed a cute little comedy drama to shut off my brain. I didn't expect to fall so in love with such a simple, almost forgettable piece of media. This drama is like an old, worn-out book you pick up at the back of the library with no real expectations, only to fall into a word you end up cherishing because it brings you that much comfort. Brush Up Life doesn't take itself too seriously, even with its serious yet simple message. But that is the point and the reason why it's so special. It flows so authentically and doesn't try to be perfect, mirroring exactly what life is. Asami experiences momentary grief, but she also experiences timeless joy. She gets to witness her sister Haruka get married and have a child. Good things happen when you live a long life, she tells us. Usually with slice of life media, things can get pretty melancholic, but Brush Up Life doesn't. Emotions are present, but not central. They're meant to be felt by the viewer, not much the characters. Life passes by in a flash, and it's easy to focus on the negative, but the reassurance that it always gets better should keep igniting the fight in you. Your existence matters no matter how small you perceive it, for small actions have a much bigger effect. Saying a nice word to a stranger, helping an elderly person with their groceries, it all ripples down to a much bigger cycle, and that warms my heart. I love seeing humans do human things and show kindness to the world around them. Also, the music in Brush Up Life slaps, which is why I turned it into a playlist just for you, my special little darling. that made it to the end of the video. You'll find it in the description, and thank you for watching. I'll probably see you later.